Okay, so I'm here. I just got a just cheap GPS module with compass. You know, the stuff that they found it on eBay, NASA GPS. All the protocols are correct. You can see I got an original Phantom GPS over here, and this uses the what's called the U-Blox Neo 6M chip. Now, this is very important what the abbreviation is because there's quite a couple of these chips, so the 6M is the designation is quite important. So, as you can see there, I took the top casing off to take a look at the circuit, saw tube, all this other stuff that people keep on talking about, adding additional saw circuits to help the dead reckoning. Well, so the Neo 6M, alright, over here, dead reckoning, it's not rated for dead reckoning. So a lot of people use dead reckoning to measure how much it can stay in hover, etc., etc., etc. We're looking at the data sheets. Dead reckoning is not even supposed to be a feature in this. So a lot of software is incorporated to try to emulate dead reckoning. But anyway, 8-bit microprocessor, pretty much the same thing that's over here. Even though it boasts 32-bit, it's really just an 8-bit chip. It uses some firmware from RC Pilot's forums. The cheap Chinese variant version to make it work with the NASA flight controller. And over here, we will see, just like right here that I got. Let me focus that a little bit. You will see the Neo 8 or M8N001. This one chip right here is $27, so it's pretty expensive. And you can see it comes in a packaging where they're actually stamped on there. So we can tell for a fact that this is definitely an M8N001. It has the battery there to remember when the satellite pick up. Now this thing's going to take like 10 minutes to calculate where all the satellites are. And as we know, the M8N can pick up, quote, more satellites and everything else along those lines. It can. It can pick up, it's Galileo ready, which is the new satellite system the UK is launching, or the United Nations, or Europe, whichever one. It uses the GLONASS, which is the Russian satellite system, and it uses the Beidou satellite system, which is also the Chinese. This little guy over here, he only uses GPS from the United States. So the 6M, yeah, it's kind of iffy. So the 8M is much better, and to prove that, because a lot of people, there's heated debates about it, so let's take a look at the actual data sheet, shall we? Remember, the original Phantom Puck is a 6M. So we're going to go over here. We're going to look at this friendly chart right here for the product features for the 6M. You can see it only has GPS. It doesn't even mention anything about Beidou, GLONASS, or anything like that, because it's not in its protocols. It has UART, USB, SPI, and at the time, this was a really badass chip when they had it. So, UART was the biggest thing to do, and it was the cheapest route to go. It uses an RTC crystal. When you see the little dots like this, where they're not filled in all the way, down here it says require external components and integration on application processor. If you were to put another additional circuit in there, you can actually use a boosted antenna, which you can find on DigiKey all day long. And that's the part it's talking about. And then you'll see some other stuff over there on the features. Now the M8N, alright, I was telling you can pick up all these other satellite constellations and whatnot. Let's go over and take a look at that. Now, the Galileo constellation is still being constructed, but the M8N is Galileo ready. Alright, that's very important to note. Because as soon as it launches and becomes operational, which technically it's a little bit operational, it can use that satellite constellation. Alright? Now we're going to look at the Neo 8M right there. It says the Neo M8 series of standalone da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It's Beidou, QZSS, SBAS, and Galileo ready engine. Alright? The Neo 8M also, when you read further down in documentation, can be used in the exact place of this chip right here. They are fully backwards compatible, which means I can unsolder that chip and put this one in its place, and it will work. If you don't have equipment, IR thermal pad, a heating station, quite a couple of stuff, I would not suggest you even try to do this. Alright? So, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this what looks like a ruined puck here that I got from eBay, that was like $3, and revive it. And you see the antenna's not there. That's because the standalone antenna that comes on these, you know, on these right here, can only pick up the GPS frequency. And the GPS frequency, and I'm going to go ahead and show you the data sheets on that. Alright, the standalone, just the regular chip that comes on here. We're going to look at DigiKey. Alright, you'll see that GP1575254A02. It's pretty much, you know, it right there. When we look on the actual chip itself, this is included on the M8N, the Chinese one that I ordered. You see the one right here? The puck I took out and the Chinese one. The reason it doesn't work anywhere near as well as it should, at all, is because this antenna right here is only rated for 1575 megahertz. 1575 megahertz is for the GPS, as you can see right here. Is for the center band is for the GPS and GPS only. And that's all it can pick up, GPS. You know, I mean, it's a good antenna. It's an embedded antenna. It uses ceramic patch. It's considered embedded. These are usually much better. You see the GPS GLONASS patch right there, the Tegalis Limited, and that's not so good either. But the more expensive they get, usually the better they are, and the better they handle a radiation signal. Now let's take a look at, I ordered a chip right here, well not a chip, but a Tegalis antenna. Alright, and this sucker was about $8. Sorry about the shaky camera. Going to put you down for a second. This thing is significantly larger, and you can see if we were to go and unsolder it, it would get in the way of those LEDs there. Quite honestly, I don't like those LEDs. You can unsolder them, and they won't cause any board problems. They won't cause any faults. They won't cause anything in the circuit. As a matter of fact, it might help reduce the power usage of anything out there. And this is, you know, there you go. That's if you're using NASA and you don't want to have the status that the GPS is locked on and all that fancy crap. This antenna right here, as you can see, it's bigger, it's thicker. It looks a lot more resilient too to crashes. As a matter of fact, I kind of did a test, and I'll go ahead and test a couple of these out. I'll waste $50 and throw them against a wall and show you guys which one's a little bit more resilient than the other. And these more expensive ones are a lot more resilient than the other. So with that said, we're going to take a look at the specs for the one that DJI uses. And I can understand why they use these ones that are like anywhere between $2 to $3 because manufacturing costs. I mean, DJI would love to provide their customers with absolute 100% awesome products, and they already do. But the problem is that you got this evil division called marketing. You know, I'm an engineer, so I know about this. You got this evil division called marketing. They don't want the price per unit to go up by $2, and when you're manufacturing 2 million units and it goes up by $2, you got another $2 million that you got to dump into manufacturing. So this gets a little expensive, and then you got to think about the shipping for the parts they're going to charge you. You know, it's an economic nightmare. All right, so for all you purists out there that think that DJI is making the best of the best of the best, please keep in mind that corporate America is a fucking dick. All right. With that said, here's the regular datasheet for the GP25B. All right, we see the gain, the return loss, the VSW, and the number of bands. See, number of bands tells you how many frequencies it can lock onto, or what it can receive. Alright, this by no means can receive anything other than 1.575 gigahertz, which is GPS. Now let's go over to the one for the chip that I have over here, which is, obviously, right there. Price per unit, $8. It's lead-free, that's all that nice nifty stuff. Look at all this. Holy crap. Okay, so frequency center band 1.56, 1.575, 1.602. So, because the Galileo constellation of satellites isn't ready yet, they're not manufacturing antennas. Well, they do somewhere, but you know, I'm not going to use it because it's not ready yet. And they're quite expensive. So the VSWR is 2.5. The return loss is negative 10 dB. Look at that gain. All right, 4.5 decibel versus and 3 decibel and 4.5 decibel, and its respective frequencies of 1.56, 1.575, 1.602 gigahertz. I mean, look at that. That's just sexy. They do GLONASS and GPS. You can pick up all these satellites. All right. So there you go. which one is better. Okay? So China cut costs when they did this. It's obvious. They really did. It's crap. I think it's crap with everybody. Because the MAN is boasted to be able to receive those other 2 satellite constellations. And for you guys that ordered this thing from eBay, or even like hobby stores and whatnot, because I've dissected a good number of these, their antennas are crap. They really are. So you got to replace them. And when you go to replace them, you know, there's going to be some modifications you got to do to the shell. Because, well, with my Phantom 2 PT2 View, it's a little bit, you know, you don't want to destroy the shell, but on eBay, the shells have gotten to be like 30 bucks a piece. So I don't sweat it when I go to destroy a shell. So let me go ahead and get a shell from over here. Alright. We're going to see the tape, the foliage tape. It's all on here. Take that off. Look at that, it's already ripped. That's okay, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace this all with thicker foil. And you can see where I used hot glue already in place for this Tagalis right here, because I was using it in the previous board on this GPS puck, and honestly, just putting that better antenna on there because it had better gangs improved my GPS lock-on and improved my dead reckoning. It improved hover. It was great. Alright, the flight system compensated for the extra weight. It was beautiful. Over here, you can see where I had to take some pliers and just gently pry the pieces away to make a nice little square so that I can go ahead and mount the antenna in there. And I used hot glue to keep it in there. Now, this thing's crashed about 4, 5, 6, 7, a lot of times. And the antenna has yet to crack. I mean, look how thick this thing is. I mean, good lord. So, here you go. You need to do a little bit of a modification to your shell. So, again, this type of thing is not for you purists out there, but it is to give you an informed decision about what you're buying on eBay and what you're going to have to do to get the boasted performance that they're talking about for the GPS lock-on. So, and once this circuit, you know, locks onto the GPSs, it can remember it. So this is coming from China all the way to the United States, and the plane, just pretty much everything is completely different. So you got to give it like 10 minutes to lock on under a clear sky. It might take sooner for you, it might not, but we see a lot of the same ships right here. If I can get this thing to focus, let's do a white background, shall we? Oh, now it doesn't want to focus. There it goes. Alright, so we got these ships right there. And oh my god, look at that. You got the same chips over there. So this isn't really a 32-bit processor. This is an 8-bit processor. Again, the Chinese ripped off this version from RC Pilots, and there's all the schematics available for it and whatnot to make your own boards. You got to send the boards off and have them created somewhere in Germany or in China, and then you got to put on all these individual IC chips yourself. You know, you got to order them through like DigiKey. So if you really, really, really want a good antenna, you're going to have to work a little bit for it. You pay that 40 bucks, and then, you know, you take that stupid antenna right there. It's a horrible antenna. I mean, seriously. You're not even getting 2 of the constellations, or even the 3rd constellation, the Galileo constellation, here in the next 6 months by using this antenna. It's absolute crap. I just don't understand what the hell the Chinese were thinking. I mean, if you really wanted to get something that was of the form factor that could fit this, you would use a 4mm antenna. And to me, I just don't want the 4mm. I want the one that has the, you know, I look at the data sheets and it has a good radiation pattern. It catches the signal great. And as you can see right there, CGGBP.35.6.A.02. Very, very good chip. And for anybody that, you know, damages their GPS or anything like that from a crash and you don't have a lock on, this is a really good chip to get. Even if you don't want to pick up those satellite constellations and spend the 50 bucks, you know, to get the damn thing from China and whatnot, and you can put it on right there. I mean, it's really not that difficult. It's one tiny hole. You can identify the side over here where it comes into because it's obviously soldered on Additionally, you can see where that bulb of solder is. Somebody put that in there. That was not printed on there. That was someone that had to hand do it. And there you go. I mean, this is like, yeah, they boast the M8N, but the Chinese had absolutely no idea what they were doing. Neither did any of the manufacturers. So whoever did this, you know, they're pushing out products that are absolute crap. You need a different antenna. Once you have the better antenna, you're good to go. So now that I'm done with my ranting, and that's what you do. And I'll post a video shortly about how many actual satellites you can lock onto. With my other drone, I was able to get, God, I think it was 22 satellites on a cloudy day. And the thing hovered beautifully. So, you know, your choice. Buy it for $30, don't do the mod. You get stuck with 6 to 11 satellites, maybe 15, depending on where you're at. Or you can go with the Tegalis mod here and get like 22. All up to you. It's a little bit extra weight, though, too. So, for all of you weight Nazis out there, you know, that really have to worry about weight, there you go. And let me see if I can find out exactly how much that thing weighs. Give me just a moment. So, the weights... Yeah, it's not even going to tell me the weight on here. But there you go. So, let's see those numbers again. Old GPS antenna. Can only pick up GPS. Alright, horrible. Or you can go over here and have all this nice stuff. And it can pick up all 3 of these. And again, it's $8.12. Sold by Tegalis Limited. There's your DigiKey part number if you want to go ahead and pause it and get that part number. Heck, you might even be able to find one that's smaller that has a really good, you know, just do your basic, your gain, and your VSWR on antennas. And, you know, just educate yourself a little bit and then make your own call. That concludes this video. Hope it was informative. And I hope you guys enjoy.